mean, I think the pursuit of the substance, and to some extent for some people, the hiding, can really be part of the reinforcing aspect of it, that kind of whole double life thing, that rebel, you know, that I have this thing that nobody else knows about, that nobody else can control. It's also for many people, especially in my experience, a lot of people who develop severe addictions have avoidant coping strategies. So they have a very difficult time expressing their anger, going to the person saying, I'm upset about this. So instead they kind of go along, you know, get along to go along, or go along to get along. And then they take care of themselves by themselves doing their drug. So, you know, that becomes sort of the self-care method. So yeah, so it's complicated and all tied up, and I forgot what your question was.
Yeah, no, that's okay, because it was that you're describing the dopamine
the way that
reward.
Right. Yes. Thank you.
Versus the reward versus the pursuit. Yeah.
So that's a couple things. So, you know, initially when we use reinforcing substances and behaviors, we get that hit of dopamine, our balance tilts to the pleasure side. But over time, repeated effects really just lands us chronically tilted to the pain side. And now all of a sudden we're not using because it's pleasurable. We're using so that it stops being painful. And the craving is then what is driving it, even absent any pleasure. So a lot of people with severe addiction will tell you, I hate this substance.
Yes,
I hate this behavior. I don't want to do it anymore. And yet I cannot stop. So that's part of it. The other thing that's interesting, I think, is the fact that reminders of using, like people, places, and things, are related to our use, also release dopamine, followed by a little mini dopamine deficit state that then triggers the cravings. So you can get into this craving loop even when you're not using, but just because you saw somebody that you used to use with, or went by the place where you used to use, or smelled, you know, what smelled like your drug of choice, or whatever it is. So it's not, you know, it might start out for some people as being about the pursuit of pleasure, but eventually it just becomes the pursuit of trying to not be in pain.
Right. And the dopamine release in the pursuit is to just sort of make the pain go away. Is that the reward in some sense?
Essentially, once you've entered that dopamine deficit state and those gremlins have accumulated on the pain side of your balance, remember, the drive is always to homeostasis.
Right.
So the craving is nature's response to get you back to homeostasis. So you're craving to use because it's not like really rational. It's more reflexive. You want to bring those dopamine levels back up to baseline, or better yet, above baseline, right? Because now you're below baseline.